very beginning, Emeka and I had never worked in a restaurant before, so it was really like, our pop-ups are really where we learn.
Really learn
A lot of, got to give a lot of thanks to our friends who would like volunteer as the waiters. And it was like the blind leading the blinds.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much, Emeka, Ify, coming on the show today. Want to talk about your Nigerian tapas restaurant, right, Chukwu's, right? So tell us a little bit more about the company and tell us how you know each other, right? Because you're brother and sister, I take it. Yeah. All right, brilliant. So where did the idea for the company come about?
So, like growing up, we've always wanted to kind of share our culture a lot more. You know, we always talk about when we were at school, and we used to have in our lunchbox this like yellow rice, which is now, you know, popular rice called jollof rice. And our friends who are, you know, just from all kind of areas in the world were always inquisitive about it. And, you know, as you grow up, you know, you go to Turkish restaurants, you go to Chinese restaurants, you know, people have their parties at their kind of ethnic community restaurant. And we never really had the opportunity to really share that with our own culture. So we got through our 20s and we're still kind of chatting about it, and you know, we're not someone to just shut up. So we decided to put up by actually doing this and actually opening our own restaurant and putting the culture out there and starting off with the food.
How long was this an idea before you started doing it?
Like, as an idea in terms of like talking about it, probably the best part of, we're 27, like over a decade, say about 15, 16. Yeah, like it would be, like, you know how people say, oh, I'd love to do this one day. It was always, for a very long time, it's that I'd love to do this one day, I'd love to do this one day, for probably about 10 years, so the 12 years. And then maybe about 4 years before we began, it was like, actually, I'd love to do this. How can we do this? What would we do?
So you only really started putting in like the groundwork 4 years before, because before that was just an idea, you talk about it, but then you got a little bit more serious about how could we do this?
Yeah.
So what took so long? Why 4 years then?
So I mean, like, so we're going 8 years back now. We've been doing this for around 4 years, and so 4 years prior to that, we were still, you know, finishing our studies. Ife was just about to start university. I had been there, I think, one or 2 years. So I actually remember us sitting down on a park bench. We had actually gone to the cinema together, and just before we went.
Oh, that was after college now, not during college.
Yeah, it was actually summer holidays. So
okay,
it was like
It
was one of the last days of the summer holidays before Ife started. So it was like we were like, oh, just catching up before. And we sat down and we're like, look, like this idea, you know, we wanted to do something, but then it all gets pushed to the back, you know. We had to studies to do. After that, it was like work, you know. We had some gap years, some travel, and so then it was only once we kind of started to settle, our life started to settle down after all that, that was like, yeah, this idea that we kind of were talking about and have kind of still talked about, maybe we should actually really try to crack on with this. So yeah.
So when was the big decision, right? Because talk us through, because you started as a pop-up, wasn't it? So what was the first? Where was the first pop-up, and what was it like?
So, I think the big decision was.
Talk about your quarter-life crisis. No, tell the people about the quarter-life crisis. Tell the people about the quarter-life crisis.
The big decision was actually.
The crisis you went through.
Kinda, yeah. Like, so, I remember, you know, I was 24. I was reading about Snapchat, and I was like, the guy's a billionaire, and I'm like, I'm not a billionaire. I'm nowhere near a billionaire. And I was like, look, this idea needs to like just start moving. We need to do something about it. And had started going back to Nigeria on a regularly. And again, when I went back to Nigeria, I started meeting like these other people who were like young entrepreneurs, my age, who were doing things. And to be honest, I didn't see the same in London with my peer group. And that gave me an energy and a realization. Look, this can happen.
And time's passing.
And time's passing. Yeah, exactly. We're getting on. So like, I remember on flying back.
Well, you've been thinking about it for what, 10 years before you actually started, yeah?
So flying back from Nigeria over Christmas, after Christmas, I was thinking like, how can you get this started? And decided, look, the one way is just to see if this is an idea at all, was doing this minimum viable product, which was doing some dinner parties. Okay. So like actually hatched a plan that what we'll do is do some dinner parties without anyone no one knowing what it was for. Just like throw a dinner for friends, but in the background, like you'd know.
Are people eating the food? Are people liking
Exactly,
the food?
are people liking the food? And there was just like friends, just unwitting friends coming around. And it was, because for them it was always a little bit weird because they were friends from different friendship groups and they all enjoyed it. But like, if it was like your friends who like, oh, boys, let's have a catch up, that it was kind of a bit more, maybe it's a bit more like it was, they more understanding why they were there.
Well, if you tell friends that you're thinking of doing a restaurant, they're all going to go, lovely, do
it. Exactly. So that was that. And then I remember after the second one, Ife was away in Martinique, but we had been talking. I was telling her what I was doing, and I sent her some of the comments that the friends had sent me back on like text messages and stuff. I showed her the photos. I said, look, I think we need to make something here. So
when we started with one dayers. We'd take the place over for a day, we'd open, and then we'd run around and learn how to run a restaurant. Because in the very beginning, Emeka and I had never worked in a restaurant before, so it was really like, our pop-ups are really where we learn.
Really learn really quickly.
Got to give a lot of thanks to our friends who would like volunteer as the waiters.
Yeah.
It was like the blind leading the blinds.
Yeah.
So how many people could it sit? Or was it takeaway? Was it kind of street food?
So in particular, this one could sit more people than we could handle. I think it could. Was there maybe like over 80?
I don't know.
Yeah, but we let too many people. So this particular one, control wasn't a word that existed to us. We just wanted to let people in.
Yeah, open the door.
It was hectic, but people could see what we were trying to do, and I think that was, people could always see. Like the effort that we went to with the music and the little bits of decor, and overall, if you got a table and you did get your food, you were having a good time. And so I think, and then if people followed our journey, they could see that with each one we were getting slightly better. So we were clearly learning. We were always really receptive to feedback.
What was the biggest learning that you went through on day one? Like, what was the biggest thing that stood out when you opened the first one? Was it like that too many people?
One of the biggest learnings for me, because I managed the front of house, is you have to have control. You have to, if you say there's no space, or like you can't, there's no point seating someone if actually they're not going to get their food for an hour. And even if that person's pleading, going, oh look, I can see that space there, it's like, you have to maintain control of your floor. And like, you're the only one that really understands and knows what's going on, like, maintain control of that floor.
Because last thing you need is anyone.
Yeah, because actually, you want to make sure that the people who are already sitting and eating are having the best experience possible. And if that means some other people don't come in, it's worth it, because actually the people that are there, they need to be having, they deserve the attention and the care of what they should be able to have.
So tell me more about the journey, because you're still using pop-ups at the moment, and you're looking for a location to call home. Yeah. So how many pop-ups have you gone through? Like, is it a different one? Like, what's the longest one you've been in?
We did 5 weeks at one block in one period, and then a week before. And then in total, in terms of the number of days of actually popping up, it's probably like around 60 to 70 days. And so and sometimes we've done it like a 1 day, sometimes we've done 2 days, and as a various locations. And we've done a very few kind of ones where we've like popped up where someone's asked us to do like a festival or something like that. But typically it tends to be like, we try to mimic what we want to do with the restaurant space, in particular because two things. Well, one, we're look at ourselves as a culture immersive dining experience. So when you come in, it's not just about the food, it's about the whole music, it's about the whole ambience, the photos on the wall, the Nigerian photography, the Nigerian kind of trinkets and stuff that kind of almost take you on a trip to Lagos, in the heart of London. And it's hard to kind of do that when you're at a street food stall. The other thing is conceptually with tapas, the small sharing plates. It's quite difficult to do that in a festival where typically people just want something they can quickly hold and some chips to go alongside it.
What's it been like on Cashflow? Because you've obviously got to find a location, you've got to put down a deposit. A lot of the time they want the deposit and the money up front, while you've got a deposit and paying rent on another location. So you're putting down a deposit before you even get your last deposit back. So is that been okay or difficult on Cashflow? Or?
I was going to say, I think with the pop-up model, the pop-up venues, it's typically not such a long lead time in terms of like with you getting your money back and returning. So if you're putting down a deposit on a place, it's maybe a couple of weeks before you pay it, then you're earning your money back in any way. Like, I guess what we're fortunate for, what we do, it's a cash business essentially. Like, if people have come that day, revenue's coming into our account that day, as opposed to like a longer lead time of some kind of service or a product.
So how important is it to you guys to actually pick the right location when it comes to a pop-up? Like, does it matter? Like, if the place is busy, does it just bring people in any way, or is it important on going to the right area?
On the pop-up, I would say it's probably more about the commercials. Does it make sense for us in terms of what someone's asking us for rent? I think, and also then critically, does the space work enable us, and will they allow us to do stuff in the space, such as put stuff on the walls and change the music? Because a lot of places that you get like a pub, and they want you to come and just do the food, but that wouldn't really work for us.
You need the whole package.
Yeah, we need to be able to take do the whole package, and then as with that, actually, because we've built up a brand following, and we're kind of quite active on social media, we've been able to get our community to follow us to different kind of locations. So that's helpful. In the permanent site, it's far more critical.
Okay, well then, before we finish up, right, because you guys had a really successful crowdfunding campaign, right, where I know you had 30,000 in 30 days. What was the target?
So the target was 30,000, and actually we surpassed it. So we raised 120% of that, and we hit 36,000.
Nice. Okay, so is that to go into finding a permanent location?
Yeah. So like, it's really expensive to find a permanent site. Yeah. And so it's very much going to be.
And you're signing up to a long time as well.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing. So we probably had enough of a budget to kind of get open.
But you want to stay open.
Exactly. And the lead time for you starting to hit that kind of steady state of sales is could be 6 months, could be a year, where you're just like lower than expected. You have higher staff costs, you're still trying to work things out, if something breaks. And so, very much kind of giving ourselves a bit of a runway to actually make sure that we can open this and be sustainably open. And the other thing for us is, like, having had this community, it's been following our journey for the best part of 4 years. People have actually wanted to actively said, look, how can I get involved? So there's a great opportunity to actually really bring people in as part of our journey, and actually be part of what we were creating.
So when can we expect to see a permanent location? You must have some idea of what place.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
All being well, and I say all being well because if anyone is looking to find a commercial premises, well, it's a journey. So it's a real roller coaster. I think it was only just a few months ago, Emeka and I were posting on our Instagram that we just lost a site that we would hope to be opening in. So we actually hoping to be opening like next month based on this old site. So all being well, everyone keep their fingers crossed, and we'll be opening at the end of autumn.
End of autumn.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well look guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's a great story.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.